10 years of my life had slipped by, entwined with the strange project I was lucky enough to lead. The wildness would tempt through every challenge at us, harsh winters, scarce supplies, endless demands from the party. Yet we delivered. We achieved self-sufficiency in gravel and timber, built the first settlement, and set up exports of clothing and food. Every road, every building, felt like a triumph carved from nothing. I poured my heart into this, driven by the party's unrelenting call to duty. But as this decade closed, I stood at a crossroads, unsure if I would stay. Would the higher-ups see my loyalty, my years of grinding for their vision? I didn't know what this project was truly for, only that it was bigger than me. All I could do was hope my work spoke for itself, as we waited for the party's next move.
Hello friends, today I want to use my city as an example to show you how to survive the first year after settlement. Why survive? There are several reasons. First, I built the city far from the customs house, exhausting nearly the entire initial budget. Second, I'm playing this map blind, with no knowledge of resource locations. Third, to align with the story of creating an abstract science city, the city develops according to its narrative, diverging from the traditional approach where players position their first city to turn a profit within 3 to 5 game years for the further expansion. While I have nothing against that strategy, and I've used it many times on my own, this time I didn't want to simplify the game by pre-exploring the map. Additionally, my light industry setup meant to keep me afloat early on differs from the standard of 2 factories for fabric and 1 for clothes. Finally, I refused to take a loan. So if you are playing alongside me or at the similar stage, this video might help you to reach that joyful moment when you can plan projects on the other side of the map while the game practically plays itself. By now you probably realized that in workers and resources money isn't the ultimate goal, it's merely a tool to fuel your grand vision. Successfully navigating the challenging initial settlement phase unlocks a world of possibilities, allowing you to shift your focus to mere survival to ambitious long-term planning while watching your budget grow steadily and reliably. This financial stability gives you the freedom to dream big, whether that's expanding your industrial complex, refining your city's infrastructure, or even experimenting while creating urban designs. But what happens when you're playing a map without convenient access to high-value resources like bauxite or oil deposits? Or perhaps you're like me, eager to break away from conventional strategies and embrace a more unconventional approach to city building. If that sounds like your kind of challenge, then settle in, because I'm about to walk you through exactly how to make it work. What defines the intricate economy in workers and resources? At its heart, the game's economic system is a dynamic web of trade where everything hinges on the exchange of goods for money. From simplest resources like timber to advanced products like nuclear fuel or heavy machinery, every item you produce can be sold at the customs house to generate vital revenue. This income is the lifeblood of your republic, enabling you to purchase the essential resources, equipment, and everyday supplies needed to keep your residents thriving and your industries humming. Beyond trade, the true challenge lies in meticulously organizing supply lines to ensure the seamless flow of absolutely everything – raw materials, finished goods, food, and more – across your growing republic. In my view, the ultimate measure of success in workers and resources is achieving a state of self-sufficiency where your republic operates like a well-oiled machine, independent of your constant oversight as a player. Imagine a scenario where you can step away, letting the game run itself indefinitely, with your careful design system maintaining stability and prosperity without any negative consequences. The surest way to get your economy on track is to optimize expenses. Let's return to the Science City and see what we can do. My residents have settled in and fortunately don't seem eager to flee from the Republic at the first opportunity. That's a great start. Now it's time to pause the game and review our expenses. Residents are the most costly resource, but they're already yours, so you should leverage them immediately once they are available. The first thing I do is pause the game, which is crucial because it gives me the time to reconfigure supply lines. By the way, I've decided to name my first city Firstograd. Don't ask me how I came up with that, but if you have any ideas for the names, drop them in the comments. I'll call the industrial zone Industrial Park, which even at this early stage will simplify navigation through the transport network. Next, I face the meticulous task of fine-tuning supply lines with one goal – minimizing expenses. This train-based setup has a drawback – it requires managing the balance of imports and exports. The aim is to automate the money-making process as much as possible while ensuring enough food and clothing for domestic needs. While my raw material stock is full, I'll drop purchasing it and focus on exporting half of the finished products, allowing the distribution office to collect what both factories have produced and deliver it to storage. Next, our hard-working folks from the construction office will be instructed to pick up workers from the bus stop. Even with zero unemployment, there are always free workers at the stop. As we saw earlier, workers are a significant expense, and at our current income level, every bit of savings helps. By the way, I'm still unsure if it's a bug or feature, but even after setting a worker limit without the construction office, all my residents still march to the construction site in unison. Drop a comment if you know what I did wrong. In addition to workers for the construction office, I'm bringing in migrants to staff several facilities, including the rail construction office, gravel processing plant and the fire station. I will also rework these transport lines, redirecting passenger vehicles to the city's bus stop. Since the game is still paused, I can calmly review routes and adjust them accordingly. This year tasks include building a second heating plant which will double coal consumption. As a result, an entire distribution office will be dedicated to coal delivery. During planning, I spent a lot of time on the placement of garbage containers. Positioning them correctly is one thing, but ensuring enough vehicles to collect the waste is another challenge entirely. The game offers excellent overlays for every situation, including one that shows up the fill level of garbage containers, making it clear whether your vehicles are keeping up. I'll add a couple of containers for hazardous waste, for small clinic, and we're all set. Despite my efforts to save, extra garbage trucks are clearly necessary. Oh well, anything for people, eh? And everything seems ready. So now we have a bit of time to focus on construction. I can envision the rest of the city being completed soon, so I need to prepare the utilities. Oh, and while I've been preaching about saving resources, I forgot to cancel the purchase of materials from temporary storage. That's safe to do now, by the way, as I have solid stock of all necessary construction resources. Until I achieve stable income, I'll hold off on grand costly projects. I also forgot to reassign food and clothing deliveries. Meanwhile, our coal trucks have arrived and we'll put them to work immediately. Without editing, we would still be watching me cosplay Mario from the game of my childhood. Since I'm still short on funds, I've decided to fill empty spaces with useful buildings for future needs. I'll place buildings here, as these folks will soon be busy working morning to night. Yet even with such a packed schedule, our workers occasionally break the law despite their lives being a non-stop party of 3 shifts. I'll add a school and a large kindergarten in this district as well. My estimate is a city population of about 5,000, and the last thing I want is to frantically build these facilities while watching 300 workers stay home with the kids instead of happily heading to their beloved factory. And of course, the highlight of building design in this game is the prison. I honestly don't understand how this massive structure, the size of an airport as City Skyline 1, only holds 120 visitors, or maybe prisoners. Sorry, my mistake. Well, let's just say it's fine. Truthfully, I hadn't planned to place this prison here, but it somehow fits perfectly. Let's check the K metrics. Bank balance, production efficiency, health and happiness. Everything looks good for now, so we can take a moment to breathe. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, folks. It's time to share my main plan for generating income in this playthrough. While I was brainstorming ways to avoid bankruptcy, and not become one of the few YouTube content creators to end the Workers and Resources series in a failure, the idea of tourism struck me. I say try because in about 2.5 years of playing, I've never used the tourism industry. By chance, the plot led me to build a party HQ instead of a technical university. So, all planned out? No, not at all. As it turns out, tourism is the simplest income source to organize. All you need is a set of attractions to meet tourists' needs during their stay in the Republic. So just east of our elite district, we're building the Republic's first amusement park. It might be a bit noisy living next to the mini Disneyland, but what can you do? The party says it's necessary, so the park and tourists are here to stay. By June 1940, our raw material stocks for production have noticeably dwindled. However, we've earned an impressive 30,000 and filled our warehouses with food supplies. You might suggest taking a loan, but as a true comrade, I'll reject that capitalist temptation. A loan is a ticking time bomb. Sure, it provides funds for a few game years depending on the construction pace, but loans are only wise with a rock-solid financial plan. Those funds must be invested in something profitable before the loan term ends. In early start, construction speed is sluggish even with multiple construction office setups, and 1 or 2 years may not suffice to build the necessary industrial infrastructure, let alone afford additional equipment. Since I'm clueless about resources location on this map, I've chosen tourism, which, as you will see soon, works brilliantly and autonomously. I highly recommend it. Despite tourist visa and advanced hotel requiring research, this allowed me to focus on managing the export train. I also had time to build a couple of small distribution offices to serve as hotels and restaurants. You might think research takes ages, but it's not that bad. If you are curious, this episode covers about 2 hours of real-life gameplay. Trust me, there was plenty to keep me busy in the game the whole time. It's clear that completely eliminating expenses is impossible. Some costs are unavoidable to keep the Republic functional. However, if your budget is as strained as mine after settlement, optimization definitely helps you to stay afloat and even earn a little bit. Honestly, I felt immense satisfaction pulling out of this steep financial dive. It would have been heartbreaking to lose the Republic after investing so much time and effort. It is the height of summer 1940 and construction of our recreation zone is in full swing. The project currently includes attractions, a restaurant, an indoor pool and a public transport stop. That stop, by the way, was perfectly timed, as the southern part of the city can reach it on foot, meaning we now have the full transport coverage for the entire population. In the future, this will serve as a second hub for workers who will send to earn us an income. In the meantime, our money train keeps generating a steady income. Even if the raw materials in storage run out, the worst that could happen is a temporary production halt. All we need to do is keep an eye on the notifications and schedule a purchase of the required materials from the customs house. At this stage, the city's population had already reached 1,700 people, an increase of 500 since February. This is purely natural growth. Whenever there are free apartments available in the Republic, people who turn 21 plus move into them and start new families. Since I don't have the money to invite workers anyway, and my construction resources are sitting idle, I've started gradually building new buildings. This way the city is growing outward from the center to its outskirts all on its own, just like in real life. And yeah, with so many workers around, that decision couldn't have come to a better time. The courthouse is finished, but the prison is barely half built. Let's just hope my citizens can keep themselves from making any reckless decisions. On the bright side, research on the advanced hotel has begun. We are already halfway through and getting close to the laying of foundations for our tourism hotels. Time to treat our guests to some decent, if not exactly smooth, but gravel roads. If I remember correctly, asphalt rollers should already be available, which means our industrial park will soon start producing that material as well. By the way, one pretty solid resource you can build a fortune on, even without the city, is cement. With just a couple of gravel plants supplying it, some storage facilities to stockpile, and a railway line to ship it out, cement can turn into a profitable export very quickly. Sure, it takes some workforce, but it's a solid alternative to a consumer goods setup. Let's change the scenery for a moment and take a train ride through straight through the bushes. As part of their cultural experience, our tourists can drop by the Gallery of Art. I mean, I'm no expert, but in a town with fewer than 2,000 people, this might be just the finest cultural hotspot they will ever see. Autumn arrives in the northern hemisphere and the temperature begins to slowly drop. That means the public utilities are back from their vacation and it's a perfect time to start building a new pipeline, just like in real life. Nothing unusual here, the pipes are being laid and sometimes they even connect on the first try. Thank you, game. I was having so much fun with all of this that I barely noticed the advanced hotels research was complete. It's time to move on to hotel planning. After a brief study of the mechanics, I discovered that even a 3-star hotel can generate a solid income, so I've decided to build 2 hotels. I chose a location on the eastern edge of the city so that residents who will work there can easily get to them. The idea was also to ensure that tourists have everything they need within walking distance to meet at least a 3-star standard. By the way, visitor score depends on the hotel's location, and the initial value is not a hard cap at all. In this playthrough, my map is quite flat, so the visitor score stays mostly constant. But if your city is near a hill or a mountain where you can build a hotel, that score will be higher. The visitor score matters because the higher it is, the higher you can set prices for services like movie tickets, restaurant meals and hotel stays. Plus, a high rating attraction tourists with bigger budget will naturally boost revenue in this industry. By the way, tourists tend to generate a lot of waste, so one recommendation from myself is to install large trash containers, just to be safe. January 1941, the first hotel is complete. We are on the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen. Soon the endless stream of tourist troubles will open new horizons for the development of our scientific city. We're about to embark on a great journey of planning, building and earning even more money. Soon, but not now. While I couldn't get enough of watching the city transform over the past year, something happened that happens to everyone who plays this game. I missed the moment to cancel a fabric order from Customs House, and while I was deciding which paving to use near the hotels and planting bushes and trees, I ended up purchasing fabric worth 60,000 rubles. Yes, that was almost a disaster, but with 2 hotels already built, there was still a hope. After buying 3 buses, I was left with 12,000 rubles. I quickly cancelled the grain order by train and crossed my fingers so that it hurt. And then the fire started. Now, like you probably did just now, I didn't notice that the fire truck was already stationed at the water treatment plant. At that moment, all my attention was on the fire trucks driving off in a completely wrong direction. I honestly just sat there in shock, not understanding what was happening at all. What was happening was that I actually had 2 fires, and my hotel, still untouched by tourist trash, was burning. Friends, I won't lie, for a second I genuinely thought it was over, that the Republic was doomed. Everything turned out fine. Science City will keep growing and evolving. The tourism revenue counter hasn't paused for a second, which means the second season is just around the corner. We will give full rein to the creativity of our engineer-designer mindset. With fresh energy, we will charge ahead toward our ultimate goal. Thank you for watching. Bye.